Welcome to our special election segment, and today we have with us Anmol Gupta of Access My America, which is a leading analytics and polling firm. And Access My America has become a key player in election predictions, and we are really excited to get insights into the coming election straight from the experts. So let's jump right in. Welcome Anmol, welcome to ITV Gold.
Hi Priya, thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you so much for coming. Let's start right away. First of all, I want you to be talking a little bit about yourself and, of course, Access My America and what makes your predictions so reliable.
Right. So, hi, I'm Anmol. I'm from Access My America. Access My America is a leading consumer data intelligence firm. We believe in talking to people face to face, trying to get to understand their issues, problems, etc., what they face, and then try to capture the public opinion, turn that into reliable insights, which we basically report. So, notably, our prediction model is a Harvard Business case study.
Okay.
And in the last 12 years, we have called out 70 elections and 76 elections, and we have got 70 elections bang on, so which is a 92% accuracy rate. And we have used the same model to predict this election.
Wow, wow, that's really amazing. And of course, now let's just get into the process on how, you go deep by states, demographics, etc., and all voting segments.
Right. So let me explain you our methodology. So we basically go face to face on the ground, talking to people of what they feel, how they feel, what issues do they face, etc. So for this election cycle, we have conducted 9,593 interviews. That's a mix of basically face-to-face interviews and a panel of respondents which we have. Like I said before, this prediction model is a Harvard Business case study. So it is basically taught to EMBA students, executive MBA students at Harvard, basically of how the methodology is so accurate. It's a secret sauce. So that our research this time spans not just in the 7 swing states, but literally in all 50 states, including and Washington DC as well. We have had 66 field interviewers going to the length and breadth of the country and talking to American voters of how they feel, the sentiments, the issues which might shape their voting preference. And in any study, there are two major factors when we try to capture public opinion. One is demography and one is geography. So demography is basically we try to get a representative sample of the age group, the ethnicity, the gender, income group, and occupation of the state, and we try to represent it exactly in our sample profile.
Okay.
So for example, if we talk to 1,000 respondents in a certain state, it will be a representation of the state's demography. Second thing what I said is geography. So we try to go into deeper pockets of the state and try to speak to people there so we can get the geography exactly represented in our sample profile.
Okay.
So this is basically the methodology we've used for this specific election. And
so of course, I think everything sounds wonderful, but let's just talk about this, political landscape right now. Of course, let's start with Kamala Harris. What are Kamala Harris's main strengths as a candidate, especially with her, experience as vice president?
Right. So Kamala Harris, the advantages she has over her competitor, Donald Trump, is basically a fresh candidate appeal. So Harris is running for president for the first time. She is our vice president. And she happens to present herself as a fresh alternative to Donald Trump, who has been our former president. And voters are seeking newer leadership, which is an advantage for her. Secondly, she's younger than Donald Trump. She's, I think, around 60 years of age. which is much lower than Donald Trump, who's around 78 years. And this could make her appear more energetic, aligned with the youth and the younger population, and can have a longer term policy. As she's young, she has a lot of time to go, and so on. So Harris, being a woman, she has a lot of enthusiasm in the female voters, and she's also a woman of color. So she has Indian American roots and African American heritage as well. So this makes her like a woman of color and basically more aligned with the minorities in the United States of America. Secondly, she can actually leverage her opponent's weakness. So Donald Trump's legal challenges, outspoken nature, etc., has sometimes not gone down well with the minorities.
You know, you were talking about Vice President Kamala Harris right now. So let's talk about, of course, Trump's support. How could Trump's support base and his past experiences as president help him in a race against Harris?
Donald Trump, being our former president, has a cult-like appeal among a specific voter group. He is basically very outspoken, which goes down well with the Americans of a certain voter group. Secondly, what he has going for him is an anti-incumbency sentiment against the Biden-Harris and Harris administration. So Trump can leverage this dissatisfaction with the current administration, where Harris was a key figure. She was the vice president. And voters are frustrated for issues such as inflation, unemployment, issues related to the war, which is basically the foreign policy of the current administration. And this goes in his favor, basically.
Okay.
So so he can ride on the anti-incumbency sentiment of the current administration. His strong stance on illegal immigration and border issues is one other thing when we were talking to people, which came up a lot.
Okay.
So the core American voter does not like illegal immigration. Basically, the way they look at it is basically someone else coming from another country is taking their own privilege, the taxpayer money, social security benefits, etc. So Trump's strong border policy has made him popular among those section of voters. Comparatively, you can also say that better economic performance or the economy when he was the president. At the end, obviously, COVID hit. At that time, he had signed a lot of checks to the Americans. It had gone directly to their bank accounts. Then I think he lost the election because people thought the economy was bad, etc., because of COVID. But when they realized that he actually handled the whole situation pretty well.
Well, he did handle the situation well, but just, I feel like he has also faced a lot of controversies and legal issues. So do you think that is going to hurt, especially with the swing voters, and people, what will they think, especially for the new voters?
Right. So as you said, there are a couple of legal challenges, allegations, etc., including other criminal investigations, which could dent his image. Which I think Kamala Harris would ride on to that negative sentiment of that classic Trump
I
voter.
feel, even Kamala Harris, she, some have criticized her on issues like immigration and her approval ratings also. So even for her, do you think her chances with the undecided voters might get affected?
Exactly. So like we were speaking, a couple of advantages and disadvantages for a certain candidate. These two are the major issues which their opponents are basically capitalizing on. So I'd say that the state of the economy, foreign policy, etc., goes in favor of Trump, and then the other way around. his basically outspoken nature, multiple controversies, allegation, and criminal investigations go in favor for his opponent, which is basically Kamala Harris. So we'll need to see how voters think about it.
Absolutely, we do. But, I would say, let's first talk, since we are talking about the issues, let's talk about like the major issues which is shaping this election, and like topics like economy, topics like immigration, topics like abortion rights, which is influencing like voter behavior. Let's talk about that.
Right. So we asked respondents of which are the major issues which they face in their livelihoods and nationally. So majorly, like you said, inflation, price rise is the biggest issue, which basically, I would say 41% people have told us out of every 100 people we spoke. Inflation is the major issue of the election, which is a big disadvantage to the current incumbent government, the Biden-Harris administration. What people basically compare it when President Trump was in office, and that is the psychology which the voter behavior is triggered. Secondly, the second bigger issues were unemployment and low-paying jobs. So compared to 2019, unemployment has been a bigger issue. It has always been the issue throughout the history.
Right.
But this specific time when voters are going to decide their candidate, where they're going to vote, this will play out even bigger. Another issue which we spoke to people were foreign policy and war. So what people thought was basically their taxpayer money was being invested in the war, etc.
Right.
And at the same time, United States is losing its global dominance. That is actually the sentiment of the people. We are just reporting that. And compared to like better public infra, better healthcare facilities, the taxpayer money is going into wars, and which people were not feeling great about. And Donald Trump's hard-line approach towards, global foreign policy, stopping wars. When he was the president, there was, you wouldn't hear much about wars, etc. He had a good control over Russia, Ukraine, etc. The Israel and Hamas situation as well. So which goes down well for him in this specific election. Another issue was it being illegal immigration and border policy. Like I mentioned, Trump did an amazing job for convincing the voters that your benefits are going to illegal immigrants, which shouldn't be the case.
Right.
So I think his campaign pretty much aligned to this specific policy, and which is again going down well with the American voter. So, like you mentioned, abortion is one of the bigger issues of the election. When we went and spoke to our respondents all across America, we especially found that women, especially in the age group of 18 to 45,
the younger women
who obviously are affected by this specific policy,
exactly.
Have aligned their vote to the Democrats, especially Kamala Harris, because of her pro-choice stance, and Donald Trump's hardline approach of being pro-life has not gone down with women who are especially 18 to 45 years of age, and that might swing the young women vote towards the Democrats.
Oh, okay. So let's, since we are talking about this, let's talk about the demographics, of like the gender, age, ethnicity also.
Right. So in this study, like I mentioned, the methodology has captured in detail of how gender, age group, ethnicity, income group, and occupation of our respondents. So what we found out that gender-specific voting pattern reveals that women, particularly young women, are completely aligned towards the Democrats because of, like I mentioned, the abortion policy, etc., more liberal approach. Kamala Harris also being the first woman, first female vice president, and then her chance of becoming the president also aligns with their thought process. What we also found out that men and older age women have a strong affinity for the Republicans. 37% males identified insurance, economy, and economic stability as the biggest challenges they face. 41 women prioritize strong national security, border control, and abortion rights as the major issues on which they will be voting. Issues like inflation and unemployment were common amongst both the genders. Let's now come to age groups. So older voters who are 45 years and above, which constitutes around 60% of the American population, are more inclined towards the Republicans. Young voters with age group 18 to 34 are more inclined towards the Democrats, while 35 to 44-year-olds are split equally between both the parties. So let's talk about ethnic variations. White Americans, who make 57% of the population, are more lean towards Republicans. So 54% of the white American population lean towards Republicans. Primarily, their concerns were over inflation and the economy. Hispanic and Latino voters, which constitute around 19 to 20% of the population, show an even split. So historically, it was well known that Hispanic vote is aligned with the Democratic Party, but this time somehow there's a split seen amongst the Hispanic voters. The reason might be basically now it's the third generation of Hispanic voters. They've been in the U.S. since a couple of decades, and now they have an American thought process more, and they align more with Trump's border control agenda, because now they're worried that their jobs, their social security benefits will be taken by immigrants. So the black voters are overwhelmingly supporting the Democratic Party, with unemployment and inflation being the significant issues for both.
Let's just quickly go into the swing states, which is a real battleground. And so let's talk about which states are swing states in this election and why are they pivotal?
Right. So in the U.S. presidential election 2024, there are 7 key states to watch, being Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. And these are expected to determine the outcome. And let's dive deeper into states one by one. So in Pennsylvania, we have a sample size of 932 respondents. So we spoke to 932 people in Pennsylvania. What we found out is basically Republicans have a slight edge in Pennsylvania, like a very slight edge, like a 0.5% edge over the Democrats in Pennsylvania. The major reason being dissatisfaction from Joe Biden's performance which didn't go well with the voter sentiment, suggesting a challenging environment for the current government, which benefits the Republicans. A major part of Pennsylvania is dependent on fracking. Donald Trump's approach for fracking, he's pro-fracking in that in Pennsylvania, and which I think has attracted a lot of blue-collar voters. Secondly, his policy on basically not taxing tips, overtime pay for workers. Secondly, let's talk about North Carolina. We spoke to 847 respondents in North Carolina. It is again one of the most competitive states in this race to the White House. What we found out that again there's a slight edge for the Republican Party, but a decently comfortable edge compared to Pennsylvania for them in North Carolina. Especially Males in age group 35 to 44 are more aligned with Republicans. Females between 18 to 35 are more aligned with the Democrats in North Carolina.
Okay.
Again, the issues which we found out were dissatisfaction with the current government. 68% people responded with the unemployment as being the major concern for North Carolina. Economic factors also weigh heavily on the decision making for choosing their preference.
Okay.
So in one of the specific Republican rallies and campaign, Trump said that he's going to get a guaranteed income for the blue-collar workers throughout the year, which has also swayed a lot of voters and created a buzz amongst them, especially in the states of North Carolina and Georgia.
Okay.
And no tax on overtime pay is also a bigger factor.
Okay.
So which has gone down with especially the workers, which are a bigger population, and which might also be the factor to determine the election.
Okay.
Next, let's go to Georgia. We have spoken to 687 respondents in Georgia, out of which what we found out that Donald Trump and the Republican Party has a comfortable win in Georgia. The age groups being 25 to 34 and 35 to 45 are closely divided amongst both the parties, but older voters above 45 age group favor Republicans. Issues majorly again were economy and inflation and foreign policy in Georgia. Now let's go to Michigan. We have spoken to 547 respondents, and our study suggests that the Democrats and Kamala Harris have a very good chance to win Michigan. It has been the blue wall state. The major issues in Michigan were public infrastructure, which was a unique finding because other places this wasn't a big issue. Specifically, a lot of people in Michigan said that roads, public infra, healthcare was a concern. Secondly, it's a swing state. For the state of Michigan and Wisconsin, what we found out, there's a large number of people working in the heavy automobile industry. Trump has promised all the blue-collar workers that there won't be any taxes on overtime pay. Our poll has also suggested that this has gone down well with them, but for some reason, the overall numbers still show the Democrats ahead. One more finding about Michigan and Wisconsin is basically what people told us was before COVID, the automobile industry was doing very well. During COVID, it wasn't that amazing. There were layoffs, factories were kind of shutting down. But the good part then was Donald Trump's government was giving out unemployment benefits, paychecks directly into the banks of Americans, and they were doing well then. Once COVID got over, these benefits stopped. And naturally, I mean, because like it's back to normal, and then, but the industry didn't pick up well. Which might be one reason which they would still prefer Donald Trump to get back the industry over there, and they see him well placed to get it back. This was predominantly in the male voters. The female voters still were very aligned to the Democratic Party. Now let's go to Wisconsin. Wisconsin is a very competitive state at this point. It's equally competitive like Pennsylvania. We spoke to 597 respondents in Wisconsin. Majorly the issues were again lack of jobs, inflation and economy overall. Our poll shows that there is a slight edge to the Republicans, but this may swing anywhere. So now let's go to Arizona. We spoke to 645 respondents in Arizona. Our poll shows that Donald Trump and the Republicans have a comfortable lead over the Democrats in Arizona. White American voters were predominantly supporting Republicans. The African Americans continue favoring the Democrats. But over here, Latino vote is a big factor, which seems to be splitting amongst both the parties, which is one reason that Republicans were comfortably placed to win Arizona.
Okay. Okay. How about Nevada?
Similarly, in Nevada, it is one of the bigger swing states. Our poll, we spoke to 422 respondents in Nevada. What we found out was, though it being a swing state, I think Democrats are comfortably placed to win Nevada. It is a tighter race, but our poll suggests that Nevada...
and why is that so, that Democrats?
Couple of reasons. So Nevada, when we spoke to people, 34% Nevadans told us that racism is a big issue over there.
Okay.
So again, like Arizona, there's a lot of immigration, a lot of Latino voters in Nevada who have eventually moved from California after COVID.
Okay.
So out of the 422 people we spoke to in Nevada, 34% said that racism is one of the issues which they face.
Okay.
After COVID, there is a lot of immigration and movement happening from California to the neighboring states, and Latino vote being also a big issue over there. So our poll found out that, again, Latino vote was split towards both the parties, but edging more towards the Democrats. White vote, which is basically around 51% of the population, still prefers Republicans, so which makes it a tighter race because it's again 51%, which is kind of leaning slightly towards Republican, and the other 39%, which is the black vote and the Hispanic vote, which is basically more leaning towards Democrats.
Okay, recently Vivek Ramaswamy said in Madison Square Garden that now New York is a new swing state. So does your analysis support that?
Okay, so this is a very good question. In 2020, Democrats gained 60.87% votes in New York, and Republicans secured 37.74%. Our poll suggests that this might be in the early double digits. Won't be such a big gap. Over and above this, let me give you another very good insight for this election. So three states, actually two to be very precise, Virginia and New Hampshire might come into play this time, and there'll be more swing compared to New York. So this may emerge as the new battleground states for the next election. But so these studies reveal that historical voting pattern and voters aligning to a specific party and just voting for that specific party throughout the year would not hold true, because now voters may switch allegiances based on current issues, issues which affect their life, which is the reason in the recent years we are looking at newer swing states, more swing states compared to the other past elections.
Okay. Sounds good. So everyone has been waiting for this, Anmol, and I'm eagerly waiting for, the kind of hard work you have put in all this prediction. And I would definitely want to know the overall prediction.
Okay, so let me dive deeper into the overall prediction. So if the elections are to be held today, the popular vote percentage which the Republicans would get is 49. Which is slightly higher than the Democrats, which is 48. This is what our poll suggests.
Okay.
For the electoral votes, which is basically going to determine our next president, what our poll suggests is the Republicans getting 291 electoral votes, and the Democrats securing 247 electoral votes. One thing which has to be noted over here is the state of Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania are in dead heat. So a slight vote percentage moving away from one of the parties which we have predicted to win might change the electoral outcome, which might sway 15 seats here and there, and 2% of the popular vote amongst the party. So we have taken a range of 2% in the popular vote, which is an margin of error, which is known as a margin of error.
So according to Access My America, it's going to be victory for Republicans, right?
That is true.
Right.
So, in terms of electoral college, like I said, our poll suggests that Republicans are winning 291 electoral votes, and the Democrats, basically Kamala Harris, would win 247 electoral votes. So let's dive deeper into these numbers. So if Trump manages to win Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina, which according to our poll, he is in a comfortable place to win, he'll land to 262 seats. We are remaining with Nevada, which has 6 electoral votes. Even if he wins that, he'll get to 268, which is not going to help him cross the 270 mark.
Right.
So Trump has to swing one of these states, including Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, to cross the 270 mark, out of which Pennsylvania and Wisconsin have a very thin margin, but we think Trump might win those 2 states. Michigan would go with the Democrats. At the same time, Kamala will have to win all the 3 blue wall states, which are Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, to cross the 270 mark.
Wonderful. But, you know, Anmol, now there is this million-dollar question comes, that the question here is, what can impact or change this prediction for next Tuesday?
The October surprise. What it means is basically events happening very close to the election, which might sway the voters to one or the other direction. We have conducted our survey basically from start of October to end of October, basically in the month of October. We are still 5 days away from November 5th, and which is a substantial number, because, and as they say, one night is also a big time in elections. Secondly, recent events at the Donald Trump campaign in Madison Square Garden, where a comedian commented on Puerto Rico negatively, which at this point might affect the Hispanic vote, which in our survey seems to be splitting, which historically has been aligned to the Democrats, that has seen to be split amongst both the parties, which is the reason Donald Trump seems to be slightly ahead in the popular vote. If those kind of events happen and it does not go down well with a certain section of voters, which might, you know, swing the election either side. Another thing that it is a very tight race. It's basically, but at the same time, this election seems to be one of the closest in American history. Access My America is a medium through which voters have expressed their voices, and let's hope for the best and let voters make choices on 5th of November and wait for the final outcome.
You know, thank you so much, Anmol. Really, it was wonderful doing this show with you, and it was an amazing experience knowing about all the predictions, which probably I would have never dreamt of knowing, but I came to know it through you. Thank you so much for being here, and of course, wishing both the candidates all the best. You know, may the best candidate win.
Thank you, Priya. Thank you for inviting me to the show.
Thank you.